Welcome to the unlikely. They say that lightning never strikes the same place twice. It's a comfort we tell ourselves to make the world feel less chaotic. We want to believe that once a tragedy has passed, the debt to fate has been paid. But what if the universe doesn't work on a system of fairness? What if, instead, it works on a loop? On July 19, 1974, the sun was beating down on the coral roads of Hamilton, Bermuda. Neville Ebbin, just 17 years old, was navigating the narrow streets on his moped. In Bermuda, these bikes are more than just transportation. They are a symbol of youth. Neville was heading home, perhaps thinking about dinner or his plans for the weekend. He never saw the taxi. In a split second, the sound of a humming engine was replaced by the screech of brakes and the violent crumple of metal. Neville Ebbin was killed instantly. For the Ebbin family, the world stopped. The grief was a physical weight. They did what many grieving families do. They preserved a piece of him. They kept his moped. It sat in the back of a garage covered in dust, a silent witness to a life cut short. But exactly 1 year later, July 19, 1975, nearly to the exact hour, the clock didn't just strike, it echoed. Neville's younger brother, Erskine Ebbin, who had recently turned 17 himself, pulled that same moped out of the garage. He rode down the same street. He approached the same intersection. And in a moment that defies every law of probability, he was struck and killed by a taxi. But as the police arrived, they realized this wasn't just a tragic coincidence. They found a driver trembling behind the wheel. They found a passenger in the back seat, white-faced and silent. It was the same taxi, the same driver, and the same passenger. Today, we aren't just telling a ghost story. We are dissecting a glitch in the fabric of time. How does the same group of strangers meet at the same coordinate of death, 365 days apart? You're watching The Unlikely, and we are going deep into the heart of the Bermuda Repeat. To understand how truly unlikely this is, we have to talk about the stage where this drama took place. Bermuda is not a massive continent. It is a tiny archipelago in the North Atlantic, only 21 square miles in total. In the 1970s, Bermuda was a place of strict rules. Because the island is so small, the government strictly limited the number of four-wheeled vehicles. This created a unique ecosystem, the moped. Every teenager in Bermuda lived their life on two wheels. It was the only way to get around. Neville and Erskine Ebbin were no different. They grew up in a culture where the road was their backyard. But the road in Hamilton is different from a highway in America. It's narrow, lined with limestone walls that trap sound and heat. When Neville died in '74, the accident happened at a blind corner. The taxi driver, Willard Manders, was a veteran driver. He knew these roads like the back of his hand. He had driven them thousands of times. So why, on that specific day, did his path cross with Neville's? The police report from 1974 shows a standard accidental death. No charges were filed. It was a freak occurrence. But freak occurrences aren't supposed to have sequels. For an entire year, the Ebbin family lived in a house of silence. Erskine, the younger brother, was now the age Neville was when he died. In psychology, there is a phenomenon known as anniversary reaction. It's a set of unsettling feelings or memories that occur on the anniversary of a traumatic event. Did Erskine feel a pull that morning? Was he trying to face his brother's ghost by riding that bike? We can only speculate, but what we do know is that at roughly the same time the sun hit the same angle in the sky as it had a year prior, Erskine turned the key in the ignition. He didn't know he was driving into a trap set by time itself. Let's talk about the variable that makes this story legendary, the passenger. In the world of statistics, we look for constants. A constant is something that doesn't change, even when everything else does. In the death of the Ebbin brothers, there were far too many constants. Imagine you are a tourist or a businessman in Bermuda. You hail a taxi in 1974. You're in a rush. Suddenly, your driver hits a young man on a moped. You see the light leave his eyes. You are the primary witness. That image is burned into your brain for the rest of your life. You give your statement to the police, you fly home, or you stay on the island. But you never forget. Now, it is 1 year later. You are back in Bermuda. You need a ride. You put your hand out, and a taxi pulls over. It's the same driver, Willard Manders. You recognize him, maybe you even talk about the tragedy of the year before. Or as you drive down the same street, you feel a sense of dread. Suddenly, the driver slams on the brakes. The sound of the impact is identical. You look out the window, and there, lying on the pavement, is the same boy. Same moped, same face, same death. The passenger's identity has been a subject of intense debate among researchers of the unexplained for decades. While the Royal Gazette, Bermuda's primary newspaper, confirmed his presence, his name was shielded from the public. But his role in this story is vital. Statistically, the odds of a single person witnessing two unrelated deaths of two different people in the same way is rare. But the odds of witnessing the death of two brothers by the same driver, in the same car, on the same day, are roughly 1 in 10 billion. To put that in perspective, you are more likely to be struck by lightning twice while winning the lottery than you are to be that passenger. This leads us to a terrifying question. Was the passenger a witness, or was he part of the code of the event? In computer programming, when an event is repeated, the same assets are loaded into memory. Driver, car, passenger, location. If our reality is a simulation, the system didn't just repeat the accident, it reloaded the entire scene from a save point. When we hear stories like the Ebbin brothers, our first instinct is to say, that's just a coincidence. But what is a coincidence really? In the world of statistics, a coincidence is simply a highly improbable event that happens anyway. But there is a point where probability ends and something else begins. Let's break down the Bermuda Equation. First, we look at the frequency of taxis. In 1975, Bermuda had roughly 500 licensed taxis. The odds of hailing any specific taxi, let's say Willard Manders' cab, is 1 in 500. Next, we look at the date. There are 365 days in a year. The odds of an accident happening on the exact same calendar day is 1 in 365. Then, we look at the location. There are hundreds of miles of road in Bermuda. The odds of 2 accidents occurring at the exact same GPS coordinate is roughly 1 in 1,000. Now, let's multiply those together. 500 times 365 times 1,000. We are already at 1 in 18 million. But we aren't done. Now we add the passenger. The odds of the same person being in that specific taxi, on that specific day, at that specific hour, witnessing the same tragedy. Statisticians have struggled to even create a model for this because the variables are so interconnected. Some experts in probability theory suggest the number is closer to 1 in 15 billion. To put that into perspective, the entire population of the Earth is only 8 billion. This means that if every single person on the planet lived out this scenario, it would still likely only happen once. And yet, here we are. This brings us to a concept called Littlewood's Law. It states that a person can expect to experience a miracle, an event with odds of 1 in a million at a rate of about 1 per month. But the Ebbin brothers' story isn't a 1 in a million miracle. It's a 1 in a billion anomaly. Is it possible that certain people or certain families are magnets for specific types of energy? At the unlikely, we look for patterns, and the Ebbins weren't the only ones caught in a repeating script. If the Bermuda glitch proves that events can repeat, our next case proves that people can repeat. In July of 1900, King Umberto I of Italy walked into a small restaurant in the city of Monza for dinner. As the owner of the restaurant approached the king to take his order, the entire room went silent. The restaurant owner was the king's exact physical double. They had the same face, the same height, the same build, but as they began to talk, the coincidences became terrifying. First, they realized they were both born on the same day, March 14th, 1844. Second, they were both born in the same town. Third, they had both married women named Margarita. Fourth, the restaurant owner had opened his establishment on the very same day Umberto was crowned King of Italy. The king was fascinated. He called the man his twin of fate. He invited the restaurant owner to attend an athletic show with him the following day. But the meeting never happened. The next morning, the king was informed that the restaurant owner had died in a mysterious shooting accident. As the king expressed his deep sorrow, a man emerged from the crowd and fired 3 shots. King Umberto I was assassinated on the spot. 2 men, identical in life, became identical in death. On the same day, in the same city, by the same means. Does this mean that there is only a limited amount of destiny to go around? Were the Ebbin brothers and the twins of Monza victims of a cosmic glitch where the universe accidentally assigned the same life path to 2 different people? These aren't just stories, they are evidence. They suggest that the unlikely is not an error, it's a feature of the world we live in. Why do these things happen in specific places? Geologists and paranormal researchers have often discussed the idea of ley lines or earth energies. Bermuda is a volcanic island built on a base of basalt and capped with limestone. Limestone is a sedimentary rock that is highly porous. It absorbs water, but some believe it also absorbs information. This is known as the stone tape theory. The theory suggests that minerals in the earth can record the electrical impulses of human emotion during moments of extreme trauma. When Neville Ebbin died, the limestone of that Hamilton street may have acted like a magnetic tape. 1 year later, when the humidity was the same, the temperature was the same, and the actors, the driver and the passenger, returned to the stage. The tape played back. Erskine didn't just have an accident. He fell into a recording. But if the earth can record the past, does that mean the past is still happening? Think about the street where you live. How many people have walked it before you? How many tragedies have soaked into the soil beneath your feet? At the unlikely, we believe that the world is a library of every scream, every laugh, and every crash that has ever occurred. Most of the time, the books stay closed. But in Bermuda, for the Ebbin brothers, the book flew open. We have looked at the math, we have looked at the geography, but we haven't looked at the blood. Why was it Erskine? Why the brother? In the study of the unexplained, we often find that family members, especially siblings, exhibit a phenomenon that looks a lot like quantum entanglement. In physics, entangled particles remain connected so that actions performed on one affect the other, even when separated by vast distances. Could human consciousness be entangled in the same way? There are thousands of documented cases of crisis telepathy, where one sibling feels the physical pain of another from miles away. If Neville's death was a high-energy trauma, it didn't just happen to him. It happened to the Ebbin DNA. Erskine wasn't just a bystander in his brother's life, he was a mirror. When he stepped onto that moped on July 19, 1975, he wasn't just riding a bike. He was vibrating at the same frequency as his brother's final moment. Some researchers suggest that the family's collective grief served as a beacon, calling the taxi driver back to that specific spot. We often talk about manifestation in a positive light, thinking about what you want until it appears. But what about negative manifestation? Did a year of mourning a specific accident actually recreate it? It's a terrifying thought that our own minds could be the architects of our worst coincidences. But if you think this is just a theory, look at your own family. How many times have you called a relative the exact second they were thinking of you? Now, imagine that connection amplified by the intensity of a tragedy. The Bermuda Repeat might not have been a glitch in the world. It might have been a glitch in the blood. Before we reach our final conclusion, we need to look at the stories you, the viewers, have sent to us. Because the truth is, the Bermuda Repeat is just the most famous example of a pattern that exists all around us. One viewer, who wishes to remain anonymous, wrote to us about a double-life coincidence. She had moved to a new city, 500 miles from her hometown. On her first day at a new job, she met a woman with her same first name, her same middle name, and a birthday just one day apart. That would be strange enough. But 3 months later, they discovered they both owned the same model of car. Both had brothers named David who had died in childhood, and both had a scar on their left palm from the exact same type of kitchen accident. Are these people soul twins? Or is the universe simply running out of original ideas? So, what is the final verdict on Neville and Erskine Ebbin? If you ask a mathematician, they will tell you it's a black swan event, something so rare it shouldn't exist, but does. If you ask a physicist, they might tell you about the many worlds interpretation, where Erskine simply slipped into a reality where his brother was still dying. And if you ask the people of Bermuda, they will tell you that some roads are simply haunted by the things that happened on them. But here at The Unlikely, we see it differently. We believe the Bermuda Repeat is the ultimate proof that our reality is not as solid as we think. Whether it's a simulation, a time loop, or a spiritual echo, it shows us that the unlikely is a fundamental law of nature. Neville and Erskine Ebbin are no longer just two brothers. From a small island, they are the faces of the great mystery. Their story serves as a reminder that every time we step out our front door, we are entering a world where the past is never truly gone, and the future is often just a replay. The taxi is still turning that corner, the passenger is still sitting in the back, and the moped is still humming in the tropical heat. The loop is always running. The only question is, when will you find yourself inside of it? If this story made your skin crawl, or if it made you look at your own life a little differently, hit that like button. It tells the algorithm that people are ready for the truth. If you made it to the end of this nearly hour-long journey, you are a true investigator. Comment the word loop below. I'll be looking through the comments to find the most chilling personal stories to feature in our next episode. Don't forget to subscribe to The Unlikely. Stay safe, stay skeptical, and remember, in a world of 8 billion people, nothing is impossible. It's just unlikely. Until next time.